In the annals of American crime, some cases seem stranger than fiction, darker than imagination. Among them, few are as disturbing or as baffling as the story of Rodney Alcala, a charming yet terrifying figure whose crimes went unnoticed for years, and whose audacity included appearing on a national TV show, The Dating Game. Join us as we uncover the horrifying truth behind the man who smiled for the cameras while hiding a deadly secret in the 1970s show, The Dating Game. Our story begins in the 1940s in San Antonio, Texas, where Rodney James Alcala was born. Growing up, Alcala seemed unremarkable, yet beneath his polite exterior lay a young man with dark impulses. He enlisted in the Army but was discharged after a mental breakdown, and his return to civilian life marked the beginning of his descent into violence. By the late 1960s, Alcala had relocated to California, where he started taking classes at UCLA. But his interests were sinister. Obsessed with photography, he began using it as a lure, offering free photo sessions to unsuspecting young women, an approach he would later use to devastating effect. It was in 1968 in Los Angeles that the true horror of Alcala's nature first came to light. A passerby witnessed him luring an 8-year-old girl into his apartment and called the police. When officers arrived, they found the young girl brutally assaulted, but incredibly alive. Alcala fled, managing to evade capture and eventually relocating to New York, where he reinvented himself. Astonishingly, he was able to enroll at New York University and study film under none other than Roman Polanski, all while the LAPD was searching for him back in California. Alcala's ability to blend into society, to mask his violent nature, would become a chilling hallmark of his crimes. As the 1970s dawned, Alcala's spree began in earnest. His pattern was methodical. He would pose as a professional photographer, approaching young women and even children, offering to take their photos. His charm was unsettlingly effective, allowing him to gain the trust of his victims. He would then lure them into secluded places where he carried out unspeakable acts of violence, leaving a trail of deaths from coast to coast. By the time he was apprehended in 1979, authorities linked him to at least 7 murders, though some believe the true count could be closer to 130. Yet amid his dark double life, Alcala made a choice that seems almost impossible to comprehend. In 1978, he auditioned for The Dating Game, a popular TV show that matched singles through light-hearted, flirtatious interviews. Alcala, in a disturbing twist of fate, was chosen as one of the 3 eligible bachelors. On the show, he introduced himself as a successful photographer, charming the audience with his confident answers and playful banter. Even with his unsettling track record, his charisma and confidence worked in his favor. When the host introduced him as Bachelor Number 1, Alcala gave a disturbingly carefree smile, fully aware that he was hiding in plain sight, his secrets unknown to the world. Across from Alcala sat Cheryl Bradshaw, the show's bachelorette. She asked the bachelors a series of light-hearted questions, seeking the right mix of humor and charm. Alcala, never missing a beat, delivered his answers with an ease that belied the horrific nature of his crimes. His charm won the day. He was chosen as Bradshaw's date. Yet behind the scenes, Bradshaw felt an inexplicable discomfort. In a decision that may have saved her life, she opted not to go on the date, later citing Alcala's creepy demeanor. Her instincts were right. Rodney Alcala was not merely an unsettling suitor, he was a calculating killer. But Alcala's time in the shadows was running out. After his appearance on The Dating Game, he continued his spree of violence. By 1979, he had returned to California, where he was eventually captured for the murder of a 12-year-old girl, Robin Samsoe. It was Samsoe's disappearance that brought Alcala's reign of terror to a crashing halt. Her case, along with evidence linking him to multiple murders, finally led to his arrest. During his trial, a vast and disturbing collection of photos was discovered in his possession, showing women and young girls, some of whom remain unidentified to this day. These images, police feared, might represent only a fraction of his unknown victims. The trial of Rodney Alcala became a media spectacle, captivating the public with its horrifying details. Prosecutors painted a picture of a man who derived pleasure from manipulation and violence, a killer who used his charm to lure victims and evade justice for years. Even in court, Alcala's unsettling confidence didn't waver. He chose to represent himself, cross-examining witnesses and even questioning his own mother. His behavior was erratic, yet disturbingly methodical, showcasing a man who understood manipulation on a chillingly intimate level. Despite several appeals and retrials, Alcala was ultimately convicted and sentenced to death in 2010. Throughout his years on death row, he remained defiant, even publishing a book declaring his innocence and casting doubt on the evidence against him. Meanwhile, the police continued to work through the hundreds of photos found in his possession, hoping to identify the faces of his possible victims and bring some closure to grieving families. Rodney Alcala's story is a grim reminder of the dangerous illusions a person can create. Here was a man who, with a camera and a smile, crafted a facade so convincing that he appeared on national television as a charming bachelor. He exposed the vulnerability of trust, exploiting kindness and curiosity with ruthless precision. His appearance on The Dating Game remains one of the most unsettling moments in television history, a snapshot of pure evil hiding in plain sight. In the end, the story of Rodney Alcala isn't just about the crimes he committed, but about the chilling way he moved through life undetected, with charm as his weapon and society's trust as his disguise. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution.